A historic decision taken by the US Supreme Court, which has ruled 6-3 in favor of granting former presidents immunity from prosecution for actions taken within their constitutional authority while in office.
The decision has a direct impact on former President Donald Trump's current legal troubles. Nadia Cavazos reports from outside the Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court delivered a heavy blow to special counsel Jack Smith's election interference case against former President Donald Trump, ruling along partisan lines that Trump has broad immunity for acts taken while he was in office.
This landmark ruling, the first of its kind in American history, comes as a major legal victory for Donald Trump, shielding him from federal charges related to his efforts to overturn the 2020 election results.
With a massive blow to Trump's immunity claims, and he's completely lost his reaction, calling it a win, while the entire legal world scratches their heads in confusion. Trump's doing his best, living in his own world, where losses are wins and reality is whatever he says it is. But wait till you see the ruling that has legal experts saying his presidential immunity defense is basically dead in water. Before we move, I'd like to ask you a favor. If you appreciate this, please take a second, like this video, and subscribe to the channel. Over 98 watch the videos with subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge to us. So, did you subscribe? Great. Thank you so much. Now, video. Ever wonder to live in Trump's reality, where losing is actually winning? The Supreme Court front row seats to this bizarro world. In a landmark presidential immunity, the highest court in the land delivered what can only be described as a partial victory with major caveats. Yet somehow, former president is celebrating he won the lottery while getting a free hamburger. Let's break down what the Supreme Court actually decided. Chief Justice.
It's not only important for President Trump's criminal case, they really have set a framework for all future presidents.
For those things that are just within the president's ambit, absolute immunity. For official acts in general, at least presumptive immunity. For unofficial acts, no immunity.
You have to give a president full and total immunity.
In a scathing dissent, Justice Sonia Sotomayor wrote about the potential dangers of this decision.
This will be referred to from now on as a landmark opinion of the Supreme Court.
Chief Justice John Roberts delivered the judgment highlighting concerns over political retribution and the implications for presidential accountability.
The justices have severely reduced the likelihood of Trump standing trial before the November election.
What the court is saying in this part is quite surprising. They're basically saying that nothing he does in terms of pressuring the Justice Department to investigate whoever he wants to investigate as president.
Writing for the conservative majority, carefully sliced presidential powers into three distinct categories. First, absolute immunity for core constitutional powers. Basically, the stuff are explicitly required to do by the Constitution. Then there's immunity for other official actions, which means a president protected, but prosecutors need to overcome that presumption. And finally, the kicker, but's explicitly stated. As for a presidential acts, there is no immunity, none, zero, zilch. This three-tier structure is crucial because it directly contradicts Trump's fantasy that presidents can do what they want without consequences. The court very clearly said that unofficial acts get no protection whatsoever. You'd think this would be for a guy facing multiple criminal indictments, but apparently, Orange Turd didn't quite grasp the subtlety. Instead of carefully the opinion, Trump immediately on Truth Social, his sad Twitter knockoff people who've been banned from real social media, to declare a bin in all caps, because nothing says I'm totally stable, like shouting on the internet. Presidential is needed to properly function as president, he wrote, conveniently ignoring that the court specifically limited that immunity. What makes this wild is that legal experts were simultaneously scratching their heads in confusion Trump's celebration. The justices did his case. They sent it back to the courts to figure out which of his actions related to January 6th might be considered versus unofficial. That's hardly the theory our delusional former president is claiming. Take Trump's campaign on Vice President Pence. The court noted they eventually fall under official conduct, which might grant Trump presumptive immunity. But even then, prosecutors could still argue the presumption should be overcome. It's a nuance that Trump translated his mind to "I can do whatever I want." The most telling saga was watching Trump's reaction evolve in real time as someone apparently explained what the ruling act meant. His posts progressively more unhinged, going from celebration to defensive ranting within hours. It's like watching someone what they think is a PS5 on Christmas morning, only to discover it's actually a book about why they should play less video games. What Trump missed entirely is that the court did a roadmap for prosecuting him by clearly stating that unofficial acts get zero protection. He's focused entirely on the tiny sliver of absolute immunity, while completely ignoring parts that actually limit his defense. It's like celebrate that you got a 10% count while ignoring you still have to pay 90% of the bill. This case is significant because it represents the first criminal prosecution of a former president for actions taken during his time in office. That's unprecedented territory, and rather than acknowledge the gravity of the situation, Trump's treating it like another reality TV show where he can simply declare himself the winner regardless of what actually happened. The disconnect actual ruling and Trump's fantasy interpretation shows exactly why this case matters so much. When a former president can't or won't understand the basic principle that no one is above the law, not even presidents.
I feel that as a president, you have to have immunity. Very simple.
There is an enormous amount of legal work that is now going to have to unfold over the next several months.
Donald Trump's defense team puts forward this argument that a former president should be held completely immune from prosecution for any of the acts.
We will never concede. It doesn't happen. You don't concede when there's theft involved.
The court's very explicit about this. It lays out its framework by saying, quote, "The nature of presidential power entitles a former president to absolute immunity from criminal prosecution for actions within his conclusive and preclusive constitutional authority."
It demonstrates precisely why the court needed to address this question in the first place. So the Supreme Court exactly hand Trump his get-out-of-jail-free card after all. Legal experts are scrambling to explain that this ruling actually complicates things for our orange turd by forcing everyone to play a weird game of official or unofficial conduct with all his shenanigans. Meanwhile, social media having an absolute field day with Trump's delusional victory lap. People everywhere mocking his big win claims when the justices basically said, "Slow your roll." It's like watching someone say winning the lottery when all they got was a free ticket for next week's drawing. This whole episode is just another chapter in Trump's fantasy novel where reality gets rewritten to stroke his ego. Maybe next time he should have someone explain court decisions using small words and lots of pictures before he starts celebrating. Preferably someone won't get